When it comes to old school tabletop role-playing games and performance, creating a feel, creating an experience, it can be very challenging. And you have to have talent and skill to do exactly what most of the old school designers expected from the people who ran the games. Though most people cannot do what they expected. What I see today is a lot of people using what I call false evidence of their so-called greatness when it comes to playing or running these games. But when it comes to real areas where talent or skill is needed, they can't step up, they can't succeed. Okay, let's look at doing unique or special voices for a tabletop role-playing game. I'm going to give you an example of two different players. You tell me who is better. Okay, there's a player. He does a unique, special voice. Guys I ran into many times. Though he doesn't speak that well or interesting for who his character is. He makes a lot of mistakes throughout the game, and he doesn't seem to learn from his mistakes. Beside him is a guy who cannot really do unique voices. At most, he might change his tone, but in game, he can speak exactly how his character would speak. His decision making is really good. And when he makes mistakes, he doesn't repeat. He learns from them and improves what he's doing. Now the people around, they're using their imagination. And what you'll find is, it doesn't matter if somebody does a unique voice or changes tone. You'll enjoy both. What you'll find out is you can't break social science. You can't break how this works. The guy doing a unique voice can't make it that you're more immersed. Well, you can say it, that's just not the case. So we're down to a guy who does a unique voice, but doesn't speak well and makes bad decisions throughout the game and never learns. The guy beside him only changes his tone, but says exactly what his kind of character would say perfectly, pretty much goes around making great decisions, and when he does make mistakes, he learns from them and doesn't repeat them. Who is the better player? Well, many will tell you the guy doing a unique voice is the better player. But in reality, that is false evidence. Performance in these games, tabletop role-playing games, matters more than simply doing a unique voice. Oh, it's a great skill for other things. Maybe you're a voice actor. You're in Hollywood. But overall, is it something really, really special and tells people that you're better than other people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby? No. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not here degrading doing a unique voice. But without these other elements that are important to the game, the real elements, what you're doing means nothing. What the player who's not doing a unique voice is doing is performing well, which is what you really need to be good at these games. What about a game master who tries to emphasize, some old school game master, he tries to emphasize that using skills, man, that's a crutch. And he doesn't like them. He's saying you playing without skills in the game probably means you're going to end up being a better player. Well, is that true? What's it really down to? Well, isn't it more a test on the game master? If you're not using skills, most people, the majority of people, will not just have a bunch of knowledge behind them. There's limiting things that happen in your life. You'll know a little bit, maybe your common sense. That's all you're really going to throw at the game master, or the dungeon master if it's D&D. But when you get skills and information that is beyond your own personal knowledge, well, now you have ideas. Now you have knowledge. Now you have concepts. And these more advanced ideas and what you already bring to the table now give you something to throw at the game master. And what happens? The game becomes more challenging for the game master. What you find out is the skills aren't really so much a crutch for the player. They're there to help the player as a tool advance their gameplay, not some weak way, but to improve what they can do and what experience they are going to have. The crutch is when a game master is not allowing you to use them because he wants an easy day, in the office. In reality, the crutch is avoiding that type of gameplay. A good game master faces skills, and you'll notice outside of old school Dungeons and Dragons, almost every single game has skills. Why? Because these games, especially old school, are there to challenge you. Not just challenge players, but also challenge game masters and expect that game masters can take a lot of heat. Performance is rewarded and performance is expected, even more so in the old school than the new school. In the old school, the majority of the time, the heat is put onto the game master to do the most work. You'll hear complaints like, oh, that's too much work on the game master. But yet the designers were making these games for people that were talented and skilled, really high, deep thinkers that can perform well to run them, and usually taking it easy on most players with most games. In reality, though, it can be very challenging for players, but with guidance from a good game master, they could take a lot of players and have a very advanced experience in the game. In reality, the designers never intended for the casual person in the hobby to actually be the person who's at the head of the table running the game. That's it. The designers were not ashamed of this. They just expected the most talented people would step up to the head of the table, not the least talented that would try to take that role. I guess they never thought of egos and people trying to pretend to be something they are not. They never considered that. They made games with a matter-of-fact approach, that the person who would have to do all the work as a game master is going to simply have to be somebody who can handle heat coming at them. So why hold back? If you got the right person who can handle it, then it's not too much work on that person. But if you have someone who's not really qualified and they're unable to take the proper heat, well, those people, that's too much work. Not reality. If you're willing to do a lot of work, if you're someone who's a deep thinker, high performance, you take the head of the table. You earn that spot because you have those qualities. And then that game is not too much for you. It will only be too much for the people not meant for that position. And the old designers assumed it that way. It wasn't about hating people. It wasn't about stopping people from taking part in the hobby. It's just they looked at it this way. The player base, you can be casual. But the people that run the games have to be high performance. That was assumed. That was expected. And why not? There's already a lot of work to put on people. Why would you ever put all that work on some casual person who doesn't have the kind of time or the mind for that kind of heat? So when you knew who you were aiming at, you stopped being ashamed as a designer. You put the heat on the people who can handle it. You didn't put it there to abuse or for it to be too much. You expected people to aim at the people that could be at the head of the table and accept that as part of the system. Look, there's a lot of egos around, or people that have false egos. They want to sit at a throne that they can't handle. They want the respect certain people get when they're not capable. And so what do you get? A lot of people trying to sit at a certain chair. In old school D&D, most Dungeons and Dragons games, you'd have to be talented to be at the head of the table. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, first edition, is the first game to break that. Second edition went back to it, but first edition had this thing called tournament play. So tournament play was where they were expecting people to go out in public and sell the game. But they don't want you to look bad. So the idea is run it raw. You don't have to be creative. Don't worry. You can be the store owner and suck at running games, but run it raw. That's all you got to do. So it covers up the fact that you suck. Then we got these things called modules. You don't got to come up with an adventure. Here's one already made for you. Follow what we say, and you can cover your ass. The customer won't know you suck at these games, and you can offer the game in an interesting way to customers, players, people that might want to purchase the product. Well, imagine that there's a lot of casual people in the hobby. They suddenly see this trick, and they want to take that home, or they want to go in other places in public, and they want to go raw. Rules is written. They want to pick up their module, and they let the book become king, and they got an adventure that's not even their own. No creativity needed. Sadly, that happened, and that's why, for a certain element of the old school, especially around D&D, they love first edition. Well, it's because outside of that, there's not much they can run. You have to be glued to AD&D 1E if the other games require talent and skill, but you don't have it. If the other games would put heat on you and you don't have it, guess you're going to stick to what you can use that will trick people into thinking you're something you are not. See, the old school again. Outside of the exception of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, expected you to have talent, skill, and everything else. But we don't bother with that. That's not the evidence we use to decide who's good at these games. No longer is it performance in that way. Now it's, we accuse people of using skills as a crutch when that's not a crutch at all. It's a way to advance the game and experience for the players. Or we say doing a unique voice means that player is better than another player, when that's completely false. And science speaks against it, no matter what your opinion is. It doesn't take much for manipulation to work on the mind a certain way. A tone change mixed with the other people's imagination means they'll take you in as a certain type. They won't just hear you. You can be a guy with a softer tone playing a soft-spoken female character, and that's how it will be imagined. You don't need to do a unique voice. Anyone who says somehow a unique voice, a special voice, is outperforming that task, they're lying. They're lying to you. They're making it up in their head. They're assuming because they want that to be true. Not attacking people. It's just the way it really is. And in old school gaming especially, talking in character is important. But it's part of the game. Right? Like when you're talking, that's to negotiate out of a fight. That's to find something, gain information. It's not to be part of a play. It's not about entertainment in that way. The entertainment factor is you're playing a game that challenges your mind. Not that you're trying to make it sound good to the onlooker listening in. So maybe a unique voice might be good for the onlooker, the audience, if you have one, but it has nothing to do with your direct experience with the people you are actually gaming with. Skills advance the game. That's what we learn. That was the experiment discovered. And D&D, once they discovered it, never turned back. Skills advance a regular person so they can come up with ideas and try more things. That's all it does. And without skills, the job becomes easier for an uncreative, unthinking game master. Someone who probably should not be taking that role in the first place. Just saying.